The following Monday, all the oil companies get together and they have a long discussion. And on Tuesday, they decide to stop all exploration and all production of oil and gas forever. You know? So that's an extreme case, an extreme example. But my point here is that even if you could mount 1 billion people to really stick it to the big oil companies, and even if you could get them to decide to stop doing what they do in just one day, starting in just a one-day decision process, and then they just stop. Even that wouldn't save the Arctic. It wouldn't save the runaway climate change, and it wouldn't save civilization. So that's the reason I don't see very much point in doing, let's call it, smaller climate activism, like lobbying some local Green Party thing, or because even if you had the biggest imaginable success with getting the biggest polluter industry to totally worldwide stop all their activity, even that wouldn't save us, right?
No, I agree. I don't think anything's going to make a huge amount of difference to the kind of bigger picture, but I feel quite sure that it's kind of the right thing to do to fight the polluters, and I want to go down fighting. I'm not somebody that gives up. I'm too ingrained in my ways to say, let's just leave it. Let's jump on a plane. Let's start polluting stuff. I just feel that we need to look after the planet until we're unable to look after it anymore. Until things are falling about and we're starving, or water shortages, or there's a mass outbreak of violence and people are getting shot, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what will happen in the kind of actual collapse, but obviously it means that people are going to have their lives disrupted, and people will die, and there will be conflict and suffering, and I don't really like thinking about it. And I just think for my life, and I've maybe got 10, 20, possibly 30 years left, I'm going to continue firstly trying to live a low carbon lifestyle because it feels like the right thing to do, and B, not shutting up about it. And I do have various conflicts with the local Green Party and with other Greens who say that I shouldn't be talking about extinction because it causes people to give up. And I don't believe it does, because I ran a poll on the near-term human extinction support group to find out what sorts of activism people were doing. And in the past year, I said only in the past year, and some people weren't doing any campaigning or activism, but a large number were, and some people were still campaigning about fossil fuels, and other people were teaching children how to grow food, and other people were counselling people. So there was quite a wide range of activism and campaigning that people were doing. So, and these are people who believe that we're going extinct.
Yeah.
So I refute the idea that believing that we're going to go extinct means that you give up and you twiddle your thumbs and you wonder how many pills it'll take to kill you.
No, exactly. I think maybe the two things that would have to be, chosen between are really, what to spend your time doing. Let's say that the very start of next decade will be, without shops to buy food and without all the conveniences of modern life. If that is indeed going to happen, then maybe as we come closer to that, more and more of your thoughts and time would have to go into thinking about that and planning for that state? Because, you know, I think neither you or I want to just throw in the towel as soon as the society collapses. You know, we want to proceed in some way.
I agree, and this is one of the aspects of Guy McPherson's speaking and his writings I really like. I might not agree with him on the time frame, but we shall see. But I do like his focus on quality of life issues and living a life of excellence. And I think that whether you believe in extinction or not, or whether you believe that humans are going to go extinct soon or not, that living a life of excellence is a really, really good thing to try and do, and to focus on all the lovely human qualities like empathy, kindness, generosity, loving, forgiveness, creativity. All of that kind of stuff can give you a better quality of life now and will help in whatever threats and whatever difficulties we face in the future with collapse and the road to extinction, which isn't going to happen all in one pop. We're not just going to go with an asteroid impact. Human extinction due to climate change and habitat loss is going to be an extended, a multi-decade thing. I believe. I cannot imagine it that humans are going to go just in 12 months.
No, because I totally agree, because the Earth is a pretty big place, you know?
Yep.
You have very different locations, like high mountains,
Yep.
8,000 meters. You have the Arctic, you have the Amazon jungle, you have the Antarctic, you have isolated islands in the Pacific. You know, it's like, it's not, everything is not London, is it?
And there are people who have been living off the land and fishing and hunting and providing their own food, herding animals, living in places for thousands of years, and I imagine that they will fare best as people in cities can't cope without water coming out of the tap, without refrigerated food, without stored food. And this is one of the things you mentioned in the videos is stored food is part of how civilization works. And with big cities with not a lot of space for growing, and people without the expertise for growing their own, they're going to suffer most. And of course, people in cities can a lot of them have got there's especially in America, a lot of people with guns and people prepared to dominate each other and what have you. It doesn't sound like a nice situation in cities, but in more rural environments, away from centres of population, I imagine they could live a little bit longer than the kind of riots and war-torn areas in urban areas. Yeah. I don't know. It's not a very nice thing to think about, but I guess that's what extinction really is about, isn't it?
Yeah. So my previous point was that if you have on the one hand you have the kind of activism that both you and I do today, and on the other hand you have various ways of preparing or thinking or planning for the after collapse, then I think that those are the two things that will have to be chosen between or prioritized between. And I just assume that there will be less activism, less business as usual activism anyway, and more planning in small groups like your family or your close friends, for what you will do after the city is burning, basically.
Well, let's face it, everything's going to change, and I think change will be quite rapid and not very enjoyable, because the change will be forced upon us rather than us deliberately making changes, like our Green Party colleagues have been encouraging us to recycle more, change those light bulbs, and choose to ride a bike rather than choose to go in the car and stuff. We're going to have things forced upon us, and that's not always very nice. But I think the human spirit will endeavour to go through, because a lot of people don't give up. People aren't going to say, "Oh, this is hard work. Let's shoot myself in the head." I can't see that happening. So yeah, it's. I mean, I'm actually quite glad that I'm 50 and I'm over halfway through my life, and I feel sorry for younger people. I do, I really, really do. I've got friends in their teens, children in their teens, and friends in their 20s. And I think, gosh, what are you going to have to witness and see?
Yeah.
It upsets me. But anyway, I'm doing what I can to forge community and to be low carbon and show other people how they can live without using so many resources.
Yeah, it's the same, when I think about young relatives, and but I'm also branching out very much into the trees and the forest and the other species sharing this planet with us, and so I can have sometimes I what do you call it? Sometimes I hesitate to go walking in the mountains because I get so emotional, sort of thinking about all of those critters and all of those fabulous forests, vegetation and everything, just not being able to run away, because plants can't actually run away from where they are put.
And it isn't their fault. What's happening? They are what the media calls innocent.
Yeah.
Not responsible.
Mm.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. Maybe we shall come back to it in a few weeks or a few months, and we'll have mulled over what we've just talked about and see what. You never know. We might get somebody else coming onto Extinction Radio who has a different point of view, or who does a nice monologue recording to respond to us. I like that. I like it when we have new voices on the show.
Excellent. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's been lovely talking to you, and we've had a half-hour chat, so I hope that we talk again soon.
Yeah.
And stay well.
Thank you very much, John. Bye.
Okay. Cheerio.
Bye.
People that campaigned to stop it being built, and who climbed the trees and went into the tunnels beneath it, and were protesting. The bonds that formed are still there.
Yeah.
And so when you work together to fight fracking, or to promote cycling, or to promote fairness for LGBTQ people, then you form bonds which can help strengthen the community, and I believe that's going to be very, very important during the next few decades of collapse and post-collapse.
Yeah, because it's even for an author, it's kind of hard to picture the first decade after civilization collapses. But I think one thing we do know is that it will be local. It will be the people immediately around you in your village. That's all you have. No Skype and no airports, air traffic. So I think any kind of good community building that you've done in the last years before collapse will benefit you after it collapses.
Yeah. The other side of it, the kind of environmental stuff to do with climate change and pollution and biodiversity, my views have changed over the past few years. During the 90s, I was talking about sustainable development and doing what I was doing for my grandchildren's grandchildren. And now I am not so sure that there will be any grandchildren's grandchildren. There may be, but maybe not my own. And obviously, there's a good deal of thought in our group about, when extinction will occur. So I'm not really as interested as I was in furthering human life. What I'm interested in is preserving a habitable planet for whatever organisms succeed us. And that'll be plants and perhaps some of the smaller animals. And I cannot contemplate an Earth without living things on it. I'm not contemplating there being a Venus-style Earth, with it getting so hot that it burns everything off. So I'm imagining that life on Earth will continue, and it will cope with whatever climate we leave it with. And therefore, my low-carbon lifestyle and my promotion of low-carbon living is about trying to leave the best possible planet for living things. And I know that my own actions as an individual are tiny, but that doesn't stop me wanting to do the right thing.
No, that rhymes pretty good with my deep ecology thoughts, because growing up in Norway with people like Arne Næss, the philosopher, who coined the term deep ecology. I think at least since my teens, I've been personally choosing to focus on biocentricity or ecocentric worldview. That means that the ecology or the other species are at least as important as humans when you make a decision or when you plan for the future. It's not only humans. That's what irritates me so much with the left and the right, and even parts of the Green Party, that they only think about humans. It's the only thing that they can see. It's crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think I've been maybe a little slow in coming to the conclusion that other species are as important as us, and to move away from the human-centric perspective and just look at it as life generally being important.
Yeah. Of course, I've read the Gaia Theory, the book by Lovelock.
Gaia hypothesis, love it. Yeah. I never really thought that the Earth was a living organism as itself, but I love the idea, and I'll tell you what, I used to say to people, I'm an atheist, but if I was going to be lined up and shot and told I had to name my deity or be shot, it would be Gaia, because as a goddess of life on Earth, that really tickles me.
Absolutely, and I think I agree with you, and I would say that I don't believe in it as a literal goddess, but I think it's a good analogy for the system. If you're thinking about the Earth system, then it actually works pretty much in the way he describes in that book. Yeah.
I want to come back to a couple of things you said in your videos. You mentioned various activism things that somebody might want to not do. And two of them really rattled me. It was ride a bike and compost. Now, I really love riding my bike. For me, riding a bike is like a meditation. It's a way of getting from A to B today. It's fun. Mm-hmm. It's healthy, and it's just part of my life. And composting, that to me is a way of connecting with Gaia, even, because a compost heap is such an amazing living ecological system that when I go and spend some time in the garden putting dead flower stalks and waste food on my compost heap and then turning it into soil and then bagging it up and giving it to somebody or selling it to somebody, that to me is an amazing way of connection.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of, the activism I do is, a lot of it I actually enjoy. And, hey, what would I do if I stopped doing it? My life would be empty.
It would. Actually, I do composting myself, but that's like a combination of convenience. You don't have to carry it to the rubbish container, and also because I know it's the best thing for the forest.
Yeah.
So, but for the biking, I think there is a tiny difference between Norway and England. And that is the winter, the snow cover in winter. So if you had snow and ice in your streets like 100 days of the year, maybe you wouldn't, if you knew that society was going to collapse anyway in less than 10 years, maybe you wouldn't, be so extremely environmental and think about taking your bicycle when that's actually quite a challenge.
Well, how else would I get around? I don't have a car, you see.
No, but you don't have snow and ice.
Well, well, not much.
No.
I think I've been a green for such a long time and been an activist and living a low-carbon lifestyle for so long. I can't imagine any other way of living.
No.
And it's just pretty ingrained in me. I don't find it difficult, and I don't find it arduous and or uncomfortable. I enjoy growing some of my own food. I enjoy foraging. I enjoy heating my house with wood. I feel like I'm doing the right thing and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. No,
So,
I'm getting more and more into agreeing with you actually. So, but I have one tiny example or a case which I could maybe present.
Okay.
And that is, I'm pretty sure you were also in the big multinational demonstration against the Iraq war.
I did, as one of the very few marches I actually did take part in.
Yeah, because everybody was there. I was there in Oslo, right? So from that thing and via the big 400,000 people climate march in New York, we could make just a case for this conversation. That let's say that in autumn of 2017, following a blue ocean event in the Arctic,